some?
Yeah.
It's 6 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. If you would, stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Miller, would you lead us in the invocation?
Would you join me, please? Heavenly Father, Lord, we come, Lord. We first say we thank you for another day. We thank you, Lord, for all your many different blessings. And now, Lord, we go forward with the business of this city. We ask you, Father, that you would give us the wisdom to make decisions, that first of all, Lord, that you will be satisfied. We just thank you, Lord, for this opportunity that you have given each and every one of us to serve in whatever capacity you have done. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask you to bless our soldiers wherever they might be. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Alderman Miller. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Can I have a motion to approve the docket of claim numbers listed on your agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the regular Mayor and Board of Aldermen meeting on July 5th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. I need a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Okay, the next two items are fairly important tonight. We all know that Hernando is a great city, and it seems like we have some ambassadors who have gone out and shown the rest of the state what we're about. First up is item 8. We need to recognize the Hernando 6U All-Star team for winning the 6U 2022 Dizzy Dean World Series. And I think they're all here. Are y'all here? Could y'all come up front with the coaches? Y'all don't be shy. Come on up here. We're going to take a picture. Come on up. Y'all want to stand up and get a picture with them? Hey, congratulations, y'all. We're very proud of y'all. Gia, tell us where to go.
You all are going to have to scoot in. We might need some to sit right there in the front or kneel. There we go. Okay, you ready? You know what? Before you, can you move over there at the end on that side? There we go. Yep, that's perfect. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Over here in the middle. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Hey, girls, we want y'all to know how proud we are of y'all. This is the Board of Aldermen, and I'm the mayor, and y'all really went out and represented Hernando well, and we are tickled to death for your win, and we want y'all to keep doing good and bring home a championship again when you're doing the 7-year-old. All right, thank y'all.
Congratulations.
And next, late night on the weekend, I got a surprise call from my mayor friend Toby Barker of Hattiesburg, and he said, I have just crowned Miss Hernando as the Miss Hospitality for the whole state. So we are very proud to, I hope this is your first official action, but we have Miss Hannah Grace Crane here representing Hernando and representing the state of Mississippi as Miss Hospitality Mississippi. Thank you. Yeah, did you want to say anything?
I could.
Yes. You're Miss Hospitality. Say something welcoming.
I'll just step over here. So
Okay.
2 weeks ago, two Saturdays ago, I left Hernando as Hernando's Miss Hospitality, and I went to Hattiesburg for the 73rd Annual Mississippi Miss Hospitality Competition. And in 73 years, Hernando has never had a representative crowned to be the state title holder. So I did make history in that way, and I also made history in the sense that Hernando did not have a local Miss Hospitality program with a director and with a staff. So I also was the first contestant to ever win without the support of a local program. So I'm very proud that I was able to make history in those ways for our town. So for the next year, my role is going to be to travel the state, travel outside of the state. I am the official Goodwill Ambassador for our state for economic development and tourism. So since tourism is our fourth largest industry in the state, and especially as we keep moving on from the pandemic, my role has become much more important, and I can't wait to get to work. So thank you for your invitation and
Thank you.
recognition tonight. Thank you.
And I'm going to have to give you an official lapel pin, so you'll have it as you go across the state. Remind everyone you're from Hernando. Y'all want a picture with Anna Grace?
Can we do something?
Oh, sure, okay. All right, Gina, get us a quick picture. My girls.
Oh, wait, no.
Yeah,
You can
that'll
work
work.
at it.
Yeah.
She knows how to do this.
Yeah, she's got it going on.
Yeah, that's all right.
Tells us what she That's the better way to do it.
Just stand, we'll scooch up your body.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. We're proud of you.
Congratulations.
I know how to do it now.
It's like in our wedding.
We never do it.
It's just a matter of time.
All right.
Thank you.
I know you're proud, Matt. Okay, next up is Dale Bellflower and possibly Cindy Gordon, I don't know if Cindy's here, to present a program they want to start with the Veterans Committee about veterans banners in the city. Got your clicker working? I also want to make note that Mr. Bellflower is one of our election commissioners for the city and a retired lieutenant colonel. Is that correct, Mr. Bellflower?
Yes. Welcome, everybody, as we present this project that the Veterans Day Committee would like to work on this year and next year and for the future years. Our chairman of this organization is present tonight. That's Miss Carolyn Young and her husband. They started this about 5 years ago as volunteers. Let me tell you, you can stay busy if you want to during retirement. Veterans Banner Project. The history is that we were approached by an alderperson last year regarding this project, but we simply did not have the time with the parade that was going on and the luncheon that we give at the National Guard Center. We fully support this program only if the Board of Aldermen and the mayor of this city supports us. So we are requesting your approval and support of this project tonight. After a discussion with Ms. Gia, we came up with a plan. We're going to put this plan into 2 phases. The city has already said that we have 22 poles that we can use. These are the decorative 12-foot poles that run from in front of City Hall all the way around the square. That would be the first phase of this project. 3 of those poles are owned by the county. We will be seeking permission from the county to get use of those 3 poles. Now, from what I understand, Entergy has already given us permission within certain guidelines for the other poles within the city. So, once we get phase 2 completed, then we will start working on. Once we get phase 1 completed, then we will start working on phase 2. Our belief is that once people see these banners coming up, that we will end up having to create waiting lists for people to display their loved one. Period of display is 30 to 40 days. We were seeking longer than that, but we don't want to be selfish. We want to share. It has been recommended that we run the polls from Memorial Day to the 5th of July. That's also when the flags are up. So, a banner of a local of not only a local veteran, but any veteran from DeSoto County, living or deceased. The only thing we're requesting from the city is if we can get y'all to install, remove, and take down the banners for us. We will buy the brackets for installation. It will not cost you anything except for the use of your manpower and the poles. No other funding from the city. So I'm not here asking for money. Funding, we propose to seek our funding from families of the veterans, local businesses, and other private individuals. The cost of the banners, this 18-inch, the smaller banner by 36 inches for the 22 decorative poles will run us roughly about $90 for the banner. That does not include the hardware price because we need to do some measurements of those poles and have someone work us up a good banner support. The city Ms. Gia has made some recommendations, and we're certainly going to take her recommendations. The next size pole banner would be 24 inches by 60 inches. We don't have the price of that yet. We don't have the price of that hardware yet. But it's not going to cost the city anything. This is an example of one of the banners that we're proposing. This soldier, Albert Parker, is deceased, but he was a resident of the county. He has family members that are still living. One unique thing that you would only see on the banner is that Mr. Parker was also a member of the Merchant Marines from 1946 to 1948. That would be on the reverse of the panel. Merchant Marines have a great long history in the defense of our country. A lot of people don't know that. Even though they didn't see combat, they, especially during World War II, got the supplies, got the Liberty ships, got everything where it needed to go for those soldiers to fight. But he was also in the U.S. Army and served in Korea from 1949 to 1952. Any questions of me?
Board have any questions?
So on these banners, they're reusable for multiple years, or is it, I mean, does it just kind of
Our
depend?
plan is to, if the family member buys this banner, we're going to give the banner back
Okay.
to that family member. Once we use it, we're going to use these banners during the parade also. They'll be on one of the vehicles, or family members will be marching in the parade carrying the banners. So, any questions of me?
The question I would ask, what's the selection process? Because DeSoto County is full of veterans. It's gonna be
we are gonna have an application form, and it's going to be a first come, first served basis. We're going to exceed this because we know, that's why we know we're going to have a waiting list. So if they don't get on there, have their family member displayed this year, they will have it displayed during following years.
So you're going to put the banners up, and then they'll just be up for that, from Memorial Day to July 5th, and then the family will take that banner if they've purchased it after that?
We will give it back to them after it's used in the parade. So
Okay.
we will keep it until October. We'll work those.
Just a rotation type, yeah,
It's going to
okay.
be a rotation.
Like if a business buys it or something like that? Okay.
Be a rotation process.
Will there be 2 banners per pole or just 1 banner per pole?
1 banner per pole,
Okay.
especially on the, 1 banner per pole. I know Energy is only going to let us put 1 banner, and they've got certain requirements. And it would look odd to put 2 banners on these 12-foot poles. So that's why we're doing them front to back, just 1 banner.
How much do those poles cost? Like if you wanted to carry the poles all the way to like the railroad tracks, like the beginning?
Well, I was given a price on the decorative poles for the city, and that's why we want the city to put these up there. They're $8,000 to $10,000 a pole, and we don't want to damage any of those poles, okay? If we have to, we'll go to a private contract. Any other questions?
If there's no other questions, can we have a motion to approve the banner program to be
Motion
run
to
by the
approve.
Veterans Group?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Bellflower.
Thank you.
And please
Oh.
spread your thanks on to the rest of the committee. We appreciate all y'all do, including the Veterans Parade.
One other thing. I have 2 dates, 3rd of December or the 11th of November. When would you like to serve the food? Y'all just tell me.
Will you send me that in an email, and I'll
I
get it to the
will.
whole board, and we'll all reply? That was fun. Thank
God
you.
bless y'all.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Parks and Recreation Department to announce their events and sponsors. Michael, you doing that?
I'll wait.
And the reason Jared's not here is
Jared
he
is out ill with a fever, so.
Yeah, since he had a
didn't
fever,
want
we
him
did not
here
want him in the
us
room.
Or y'all. The biggest thing is we have 2 events that are upcoming that we wanted to put out for everybody. One is the annual Scavenger Hunt. That event date is August 20th. Registration deadline is August 15th. It's $40 per team, must register as a team.
Can you speak into that mic?
$40 a team, must register as a team. Teams must consist of 2 to 5 players, 1 must be a driver. It doesn't like me. Registration info is already out online and at the Gale Center. We also wanted to say a special thanks to the sponsorships for that program that we've already received. $300 sponsorships we've gotten from Fairway Mortgage, Hernando Dental, Eldridge Services, and Discount Depot. $150 scholarship or sponsorships we've gotten from Guarantee Bank, Wesley Meadows, Noah's Gifts, The Magnolias, J-Mod, Four Seasons, and Four Seasons 2, and then $50 sponsorship from Coexxon. That's a total of $2,300 we have received for sponsorship so far for the scavenger hunt. The other event that we have coming up is movie night. It will be at Lee Summit Park, Saturday, October 1st. We will be showing Disney's Jungle Cruise. Admission will be free for all. Sponsorships are being taken now. The sponsorship deadline is August 19th. Our food sponsor is Energy, which was $500. So there will be hot dogs and stuff for everybody there at no charge. 6 p.m. will be when the gates open. You find a seat, visit the sponsors, food vendor. Movie starts approximately 7:15 to 8 o'clock.
Will you say again the location?
Lee Summit.
Okay.
We also would like to end by saying a special thank you to Colonial Hills Baptist Church for providing extra parking and additional snacks that night.
Great.
So that is the two events that we have right now and the information that we have to put out there.
Thanks for helping us with that. And also, obviously, we want to thank all the sponsors that keep not only the parks programs running, but other events in the city. The businesses are really good about supporting the town.
Yes, they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right, item 12 is approval for the Army National Guard to use the baseball field at the Hernando Civic Center for a kickball and meeting on Friday, August 12th from 11 to 2 at no charge.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Can I have a motion on the personnel docket?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, once again, AERC is, I can't say it enough how much AERC has helped us on the animal shelter, all the free time they've donated, all the oversight and advice they've given us as we've gone through the process. But we want to approve, to officially accept a donation of some design services from them in the amount of $35,5625 for the animal shelter project.
So
To approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, we have the request for the upcoming budget year from the First Regional Library by Director Ms. Barnes.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Good. It's really good to be with all of you. I did want to point out that when I was here with you last year, I had just moved, just started this position. I am now a resident of Hernando, and I love living here, so had to point that out.
Glad to have you.
I'm Lori Barnes, the Director of First Regional Library System. I'm here tonight with Derek Big Lane, who is the DeSoto County Representative on the First Regional Library Board of Trustees. I'm also here with Nancy Anderson, who is the First Regional Library Business Manager, as well as Jesse Poole, who is the manager of the Hernando James F. Anderson Public Library. I have to begin by saying thank you. We have just one of the most beautiful libraries in the state. We have a wonderful amount of services going on at that library, and we could not do that without your support, and so we absolutely thank you so much. We've had a really great year at that library. I was fortunate enough to write and receive over $60,000 in ARPA grants for the library system this year. Part of that money is going to create a new Teen STEAM, the Vibe Center, Teen Center at the Hernando Library. You will be getting an invite very soon to come to that grand opening. We're very excited about it. State of the art, just a beautiful, beautiful part of the library, so I'm excited to share that with all of you. We have had a wonderful summer reading program. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see all the activity going on in our libraries. I would tell you that there have been hundreds of children participate, but there have actually been thousands of children participate system-wide. It has been wonderful because we didn't have a summer library program in the library for the past 2 years because of COVID. And we are back in the full swing of things, and we are so excited to see so many children come to our library this summer. We've also had lots of popular programs throughout the year, and Jesse may mention more about that when he talks to you, but it's been a really good year getting back after post-COVID and that type thing. I did have prepared for all of you that Jesse just passed out one of my business cards, but also a handout. And this handout has a lot of very interesting information on it. This side here with the square in the middle is actually, these are statistics for the entire library system. And if you turn over to the other side, these statistics in the middle are statistics that relate specifically to the James F. Anderson Hernando Public Library. So I want to draw your attention to those at this time very briefly. There we see the program attendance thus far for fiscal year 2022. That's almost 7,500 people total. We've welcomed just under 50,000, 48,759 visitors this year so far. We provided technology help. We provided computer use for many, many people in the community. Wi-Fi sessions. If you drive by, especially after the library is closed, you might see vehicles there, and they are tapping into our Wi-Fi because that is available to 24/7, and we're very glad to be able to offer that service. And thus far, we checked out 66,159 items. People are really coming back because that was much lower during the COVID time, so we're glad to see that number rising. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jesse. He has a few things he'd like to say, and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome, Jesse.
I'm very excited about this new teen center. I hope you all get to come out and see it. We've had our soft opening during summer because we just couldn't keep the kids away from it, and it's really something. So I hope you all can come and enjoy that when we send out those invitations. We do programming for people of all ages. We have things for adults year-round. We have book clubs, art programs. Some of my favorites have been the genealogy program we did with the DeSoto Genealogy Society, and the Master Gardeners have been doing a monthly series with us. That's been really interesting. The children's activities this summer have just been unbelievable. One day we painted rocks, and we had so many people come, we had to do 3 groups. And I had to run out in the parking lot and steal some rocks to bring up because we ran out. So it's been a really active summer. People are coming back, and it's just been great.
Just want to commend Jesse and his staff for doing an amazing job this summer. It's been a lot of fun. You know, I wanted you to know all the wonderful things that have been happening at the library, but there have been some challenges that I wanted to make you aware of. First challenge, none of us, I don't think, could have anticipated the rise in cost that we've experienced in gas and various other things, and that has certainly caused our cost of operation to increase as well. So that's been a challenge. Another challenge has been hiring people. I know that many of you might be able to relate to that. We start our frontline staff members out at $10 an hour, and with this, you know, the way that the hiring environment is, we just can't compete at that rate with local employers. And we're hoping to try to do better in the next fiscal year because we really do need to be able to hire a qualified staff. We've even had people come and say, you know, I really want to work at the library, but I've got too many job offers over here making, you know, way more than what you're offering. So that is a major concern that we have going forward. Tonight, in conclusion, I wanted to let you know that we're asking for fiscal year 2023, $165,000 from the City of Hernando. We ask that you please consider this request, and we respectfully thank you for this consideration. And certainly, if there's anything we can ever do for you, please do not hesitate to contact us. Does anyone have any questions for me at this time?
What is that versus last fiscal year to this year? What are the different amount of requests?
It's actually about 17,500. The previous year, I have that with me.
That's close enough.
Okay. I do have that number, but thank you for asking that. I appreciate it.
And just for the public and everyone that's watching on YouTube, can you state the hours of operation of the library so everyone knows when it's open and when they can come?
Jesse?
We are open 9 to 7, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5 on Friday, and 10 to 5 on Saturday. We're closed on Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
We did add that hour in the morning, and there was a transition period because the library had been opening up at 10 o'clock in the morning for years. And so, but we went ahead and added that 9 o'clock opening time, and our public has really embraced that and really started coming to the library a little bit earlier. So we were glad to be able to do that this year, and we hope to be able to maintain that. Thank you, Mayor, so much. It's great to see all of you, and we look forward to meeting you soon, okay?
All right, thank you, Lori and Jesse. We appreciate all you do for the library, and please pass that on to your board of directors.
We do. Thank you so much.
All righty, next we'll move on to the planning items. Come on up, Austin. And before you start, I know we had a glitch in, tonight was supposed to be the public hearing for something that is not on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
That happened in the transition between you and the previous interim director. So if
Correct.
you could announce that and let the public know when that's going to be, and make sure the board knows too, since you just texted it to me, so.
Absolutely, yes. We had some miscommunication of the carryover application from PL 1615. It's the Grove Park office rezoning of 2.7 acres. The request is from going from O to R12, which was advertised for tonight back in April. but obviously it's not on the agenda. So I'd like to request the board move that to the next meeting, August 1st at 6 p.m., and I'll let the applicant know in the morning.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Thank you. The first item I've got on the agenda tonight is project number PL 1605, and the request is to amend the project text of Lee Summit PUD, and this is to add the mini warehouse or self-storage as a permitted use in that C4 area. A little background on this application: it started back in April with the Planning Commission, which was tabled. They wanted to see a more full review of the existing project text. The May 10th Planning Commission meeting, this current request was recommended for denial, and then the board, y'all voted on the June 21st meeting to table this until July 19th, which is tonight. The update since that meeting, there's been no update to the proposed discussion, which you'll see in the staff report of how the proposed amendment would conform to the general development plan, whether this existing zoning district classification of this property is improper or inappropriate, and they still are justifying the same economic, physical, and social changes. But what is new tonight is they've attached an updated site plan, some updated building renderings, and I believe the applicant does have a few more materials he'd like to show you that he's brought with us to the meeting. And so with that being said, the staff comments, from the Planning Commission's denial, a 2/3 majority of the board is needed to recommend this to go into effect, so a supermajority is needed. And some things to consider is, if this is approved, to consider limiting this change to this specific lot, so it's not as the PUD as a whole for their use to be considered on. And then to also consider the same conditions that are on mini storages in the C2 zoning district, which are pretty straightforward about parking requirements, fences, signage, and some of the stuff you're allowed to store and not store. And so with that, there's a proposed motion to approve, deny, or if you wish, we can table it again. And the applicant is available for some questions, and I am as well.
Before we call on the public or the applicant, does anyone have questions for Austin? If not, would the applicant like to speak?
Hi, I'm Greg Russell with Neil Schaefer at 5740 Getwell Road, South Haven. Mr. Mayor, if it's okay, we'd like for 3 representatives to speak on behalf of the project tonight.
Okay.
I know I'll be brief. I'm sure the others will be also.
Thank you.
So in preparing for this, I took a look at one of the maps and was kind of studying those and studying the neighborhood. We said that this was a good fit for this area. And so without putting you to sleep, I'm going to throw a bunch of numbers at you. This map that I've given you here, and I'm sorry it's kind of busy, but I wanted to make sure that the aerial photography was on it also, indicates that from our northeast property corner, not from the proposed building site, but from our northeast property corner of the entire 10 acres to the first house that you get to on Monteith is 1,100 feet away. Now, if you're interested, a little known fact is that's 3.6 football fields away. If you go down straight from the south line to the nearest lot in Edgewater, it's 950 feet. Now, that compared to the car lot, which is only 200 feet. So there's quite a bit of difference in those locations. If you travel from the south property line along Holly Springs, you're over 1,200 feet before you get to a residence. You are, at that point, you're 850 feet from the car lot being the most dense and intense use that there is in that area. There is a home next door to the property, that's the Vernon Tract, that has a contiguous property line to this piece of property. So from from our property line to that home is 252 feet. Now, you say that's close, but that's farther away than the car lot is from Edgewater. And the Vernons are going to have a 30-foot buffer, no disturb buffer. Plus, if you look at the site plan, which you don't have up, but if you look at the site plan on the other page, you can see that there's going to be some drainage in here, so there's going to be an additional area that is not going to be able to be used in this back corner back here.
Mr. Russell, you may not know it, but that Vernon house you're talking about, the big one there on the big lot?
Right.
It's vacant, has been for years. It's for sale as an office use.
That's better for me.
I wasn't trying to make it better or worse. I was just stating a fact.
It's still, from the building to that home is still over 400 feet. So you're still a good ways away from that. In looking at the sites, the 10 acres now, not just the lot that he's proposing the storage facility on. If you look at going out radial from the exterior property lines, if you go out 100 feet, you have 10 office buildings, the car dealership, and another storage facility. If you go out 300 feet, that's when you add the church building, the Goodwill store, and the fire station. From working on the site, I can tell you that Goodwill store is the traffic generator for Monteith. There's a bunch of traffic going in and out of there. Continue on 400 feet, you add in the interstate, and at 500 feet, you get the Dollar General, the Walmart parking, and the tobacco store that's right there next to the facility, next to the storage facility. That's all I have concerning that map. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you.
Do I have any questions?
If not, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Fisher.
Good evening. Chad Fisher, 8888 Mid-South Drive. We're bringing this project to you guys tonight. I've got a site plan here. Just, I believe a blown-up image of what you guys have. I just kind of wanted to explain a couple of things about our project. Of course, we have one access off of Mackinville. We have one access off of Monteith. These lots will have this single access. Will be a frontage road that will connect from Mackinville. They can exit from Monteith here. We're proposing the storage to be on this back corner here, where it's really tucked away. It's not really visible. It doesn't really need to be. We do have this 30-foot buffer on the whole east and south side. I've sent you guys a landscape plan. The landscape architect actually showed multiple trees in that buffer. That's not correct. It's just shown to generate that there will be an existing screen here. On your landscape plan, you'll see we've got Marydale hollies planted, and we'll get to the building elevations in a second, but they're planted. We have a glass storefront here, and it's pretty much planted along the building to screen everything from that, from Monteith. So when you're driving by, what you'll see is if you can, once we build a building here, once we sell this lot to someone else's building, you'll barely be able to see the glass storefront, but even as you drive by and you see down this side, you'll see landscape. We're also planting a little bit along this side, and we're planting a few trees down here, and we're also screening this part just in case traffic does come by. You can see through this 30-foot buffer and into the property here. So we're really trying to screen this building, but it's also a really good-looking building, so it's not something that you would typically see a storage designed as, especially going across the street. This will also be gated. There'll be a gate on the other side of each side of this glass. It'll be a one-way in, and you'll wrap your way all the way back out the other side of the property. There's parking right here in the front. I'm not sure if we meet the parking criteria, but we do have the availability to add more parking. This will be a concrete apron around the building, and it will all drain to the master detention up front, which also adds another separation from mine. You guys have any questions about this site plan?
And what information what additional information has been given this evening that wasn't given to the planning commission?
So at the planning commission, we showed a different site plan.
Okay.
We showed a site plan that included this entire 5-acre lot. It had climate and non-climate. It wasn't favorable to the board. I met with a few aldermen and alderwomen, and some suggestions were to downsize this, tuck it into the back, screen it, make it look good, and none of the concerns of climate and non-climate were never really brought up, but to really squeeze it in the back, we just said we'll make this all climate. It's actually 50,000 square foot. We were at about 8,000 for total of climate and non-climate combined. So this is just a single building. So that's the major change. We brought elevations, landscape plan. We didn't have that before, and it's a completely different site plan. So we would be, as Austin mentioned, we would only be allowed use of storage on this lot.
And it's all under roof, and there's no outdoor RVs or any of that?
That's right. And it's also going to be gated, as I mentioned, which means we'll put a wrought iron fence around the whole property from the gate point. So we're at the back side of this concrete apron, there will be a wrought iron fence. And on the front side of that, there will be another landscape screen. No chain link.
What's lot 5 and 6? What's going there?
So lot 6 is actually detention. That's where
Oh,
we're
that's
holding-
where the-
that's where we're holding the detention pond. Lot 5 will become a lot just like these things.
Any questions? Did you have another speaker on your behalf?
I do, but I've got one more.
Okay, good. I'm not trying to run you off.
This shows the approximate location of the building. I want to talk about the 30-foot buffer that we have. You can see this red line that comes down. That's our property line. This red line that comes down here. So everything inside of that, we have a 30-foot buffer that we're going to leave completely. We're not going to touch it. But I also want to talk about on the other side of the church property. So there's a 30-foot buffer here. I believe it's greater than 30 foot already on the church side. This big patch of woods here. There's a large patch of woods here that separate the fire station. So this building won't be visible from here. And definitely, I mean, you can see the vegetation on the corner lot that Mr. Anglin owns. So once this develops, you will be able to see, but you can't see through our buffer. So there's still a 30-foot natural vegetation. I just want to show this just to show the location of our project and kind of the existing huge green buffer we're going to have around the southeast side as it exists on both sides of the property. I don't know if their plans for future development plans or PUD that's laid out before that property has to have a buffer like we did, but ours doesn't. That's just what I want to show you. The green area that's going around our property. So I've got my architect here, Josh Belair. He has, we've actually gone out and looked at the buildings up and down Monteith and designed a building from the architecture that's up and down that street. I'm going to let him talk about that because I'm not much on architecture.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joshua Belair. My firm is called Arc 1010, and one of the things I've learned in the past few years working with Chad and his team is that whatever the project is that they're doing, they try and do something unique. But what I like about them is that they try and be sensitive to the neighborhood they're in. And when he first engaged me, he made sure that I understood that there was a lot of concern that this project fit in with the context. So he provided brick structure with where these are more traditional. This you could consider a transitional style. And then to our northeast, you've got this relatively contemporary church building. So in order to fit this project in with the neighborhood, we tried to be as sensitive to all that as possible and draw each of those components and integrate them into the overall design of this new building. So what you have is a very relatively low-profile structure because we want it to not really stand out too much. We want it to fit in and get weaved into the neighborhood. So you've got a predominantly brick facade with a color scheme that kind of matches what's going on up and down Monteith, where you've got the brown brick on the face, and then you've got these recesses with the white painted brick like the other building down the street. And then to identify with the contemporary nature of the church, you've got this strong diagonal roof plane with the glass storefront that, as you can see on the site plan, is an attractive feature that, if it is seen from Monteith, that's what would be seen by the public until they actually come and use the building. But that's what would be peeking out at them. And like Chad said, it's not your traditional storage facility. So we're trying to do something a little more unique, drawing from all the contextual elements of all the other buildings, incorporating them into a contemporary, something new and unique type of storage facility. So, plenty of studies, multiple iterations on the building, and this is the design that we all felt would be more favorable and suitable for this site. So, if you have any questions for me about the architecture, otherwise I'll turn it back to Chad.
Anyone have any questions?
So what is the height of the building at its highest point, and then also just generally on the other three sides?
The main facade, the brick, is right around 20 feet. And then you've got an extra about 8 feet where that pops up just to draw people in. And another thing is you try to place that storefront on this corner not only to present a more attractive facade if it's seen from Monteith, but also that's where the parking is aggregated. So that's what would make sense to put right there.
Any other questions?
How far off of Monteith will it be? I know you've got the, as you say, the stub road that's going to take it in the property. About how far is that, the distance? Because it's going to be at the very back of that lot, the acreage.
So, between 300 and 325.
Okay.
So a little bit more about the office, where the glass is shown on the front corner. This will be the office that operates the climate control. So this is where you would come between hours of, let's say, 9 to 6. You could pay for a unit or pay your monthly bill. You could purchase pack and take boxes, that type of thing. It's staffed from 9 to 6, typically 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, and 8 to 12 or 8 to 2 on Saturday. The gate that surrounds the property is only accessible about 12 hours a day. It's not something you can come in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, and access the place. Now, if it was a special concern with maybe a general contractor that was storing some tools in the site, he would have to pay extra to go get his tools if he was working a night shift or something odd. He would have to pay extra to be able to gain access at an odd hour. They are monitored with security cameras. It's a keyed entry. Everybody has their own keyed entry, so we'll know who enters the property when they enter it. And we do the license plate readers at the gates. Again, it's one way in and one way out.
Any other questions?
How many units will it have?
Probably 250-ish. Somewhere in that ballpark, 50,000 square foot. It'll range from 5x5s to 10x20s and 10x10s.
y'all through with your presentation? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this project? Yes, sir. Please come up, state your name and address.
My name's Tyler Mullins. I live at 2633 San Elmo's Fire Drive. I'm in the Lee Summit subdivision. The one thing you can't change is the progress of man. Lived in Lee Summit for about 8 years now. It's a great neighborhood. A lot of kids running around everywhere. We enjoy the neighborhood. Historically, there's been 2 entrances or 2 points of access for Lee Summit. That's Summit Drive and Monteith. Personally, I drive Monteith in and out every day. That's my main course of entrance and exits for the neighborhood. There is the 4th phase of the subdivision that's going in. There will be 2 points of access to Commerce at that point, in addition to Monteith and Summit Drive. So we'll have 4 total points of access once those 2 thoroughfares are pushed through. Monteith, there is a lot of commercial and retail traffic that travels that road, a lot from Walmart, Goodwill, as he stated. This will add to it. The other businesses that are on it have added to it. The church has added to it. But that's not part of our residential neighborhood. I guess for or against this particular proposal, I'm not here to speak to that. I'm here more or less to ask if there would be any consideration to close off Monteith, since it is such a traffic generator on the commercial and retail side for the neighborhood. And that's what I wanted to ask and propose to y'all. If there is, there's a lot of concern in the neighborhood about this going in, but there's going to be something else, and there's going to be something else. With all the traffic coming through, if you could just stub off Monteith there, somewhere around the park, let that be retail, let that be commercial. Let us have our neighborhood. Let us have our kids that can run and play in the streets and have a good time.
I've never heard that proffered before. I'll look to our planning director, and we will talk about it and consider it. And of course, the board would have to consider it as well. But that's something to think about for certain.
Appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak for or against the application? If not, is there any discussion from the Board of Aldermen?
Austin, you said that if you look at the motion to recommend approval, is everything in there that you stated, or would it need to be amended to state that only this lot would be approved for the mini storage?
You would need to add the specific lot you want to tie that use to. And I think it's even changed since our last meeting, so the proposed lot 5B, I think it is, or 5A, based on the new staff report. Is it 4?
What?
So limit this use to lot 4, if that's what you want to do.
That was what?
I am concerned about the parking. It shows 5 spots. Is that what, but what does that require? What's the parking requirement for that?
For that many spaces, you'd need about 25 spaces. So it'd be about 20 more than he's showing.
And you said y'all have room for that?
Yes, ma'am. So on our last project, what we did was go on the front side of the building, and as you circle the building, we can add parallel spots that would be closer to the door. So what you're going to do is there would be just past the gate on this side, you would come in, and there would be a door. There'd be 2 or 3 doors over here, 2 or 3 doors over here, and 2 doors over here. So we would provide a spot for somebody to come up close to parallel park towards the door, and you would get out and all your stuff. So there's possibility for adding here. I think we can also add some parking here. At another project, we actually added some spots in the back. So we have the possibility to have parking.
And I do want to just mention my opinion. Austin and I have talked about this before. We have these parking minimums that are just based on square footage. In many instances, they don't really make sense. There are never going to be 25 people there for 250 units at one time, ever. You know, I've been to mini storages many times where I've stored my stuff, and there'll be 3, maybe 4 people there unloading at the max. So you just don't need a lot of parking there. It seems like a waste, and of course, the more impervious surface we put in, the more runoff we've got and all those things. So in the future, we might want to consider even changing that requirement.
And that's actually a challenge that we've had at a lot of municipalities. There's really no way to calculate, there's no precedent for calculating storage or, parking spaces. So what we've kind of thrown out there is always passed, because we need one parking spot for our employee that mans the place. And, hopefully we have 4 other people there signing up at the same time, but it's usually not the case. It's a low traffic generator at all times.
So would you need to amend item number 3?
That's just based on our zoning ordinance, so you can either ask for a variance, or you can amend that item to change the PUD text to have a different parking requirement. And just like the mayor said, we have had lots of conversations of big empty parking lots, especially like uses like this. So if you're considering, I could support reducing the amount of parking required for this type of use, because I don't see it being a big need. So instead of 1 to 10, it could be 1 to 20, I think, just a half it.
I have a question, kind of not to this project, but just mini storages. What, besides property taxes, do they pay any other type of taxes on sale of those units, or?
I think is there a sales tax on those? I don't think there is. I think they're exempt from sales taxes, aren't they?
I'm not real sure on that, but we do sell materials and supplies.
So that would generate a little bit of sales tax, but property tax is all I've ever counted on from them.
That would generate sales tax.
It seems to be very popular in Hernando right now.
Yeah.
People keep a lot of stuff, I guess, huh? People can't get rid of things.
Did anyone on the board want to make a motion?
I have a question for our city attorney.
Yes, sir.
So there's a mini storage building in close proximity to this. I mean, or would we be open to any kind of legal issues if you decline this, but you across the street there's essentially a very similar business that has been allowed previously? Is it a case of precedence or what? I mean, I'm not an attorney now, so that's why I'm asking the attorney. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions or motion? Any other concerns?
I mean, this is an extremely different plan than what was originally presented. So, and this is my ward, so I feel like I need to speak on that. From originally, when this was brought before the Planning Commission, it was metal warehouses with fencing, and it just didn't fit the area. That was my largest concern, was that it just was, these are expensive homes and nice buildings around there, and it just didn't fit the area. And so, with this complete revamping of everything, moving it back off of Monteith and screening it more, I feel like it could work there, because I know there's going to be other things proposed for that area. This is not going to be as busy as a convenience store. It's not going to be as busy as maybe other things that would be proposed there. From a neighborhood standpoint, the church has a lot of traffic in and out on, maybe a couple of days a week, and maybe, vacation Bible school, things like that. It's not an everyday thing either, but I just feel like it's not a bad choice. Now, I'm not a big storage unit fan, because we already have a large one over there that's a pretty big, unattractive building, but, it is what it is. It's all brick, and it's there. And it doesn't really fit the area, but it's not big metal storage units either, so, and then we have, like, they brought up the car dealership. I think this one, out of everything that's been proposed, and it being changing of the design, the standards, and maybe more hidden, I'm better with it than I was, for sure, so.
I mean, I would say my concern, and I think we've seen it from other, developments in the city, is just the amount of trees that are removed from the property. I know that you are going to do everything you can to try to save as many as you can, but certainly want to emphasize that point that I think, this, community in a big way has seen a lot of trees go down, and that's kind of how things go when new things are built. When my home was built, trees probably had to get cut down. When the houses behind me were built, a bunch of trees went down. So, certainly just want to emphasize that point. It's certainly a concern. I know the buffer's there, but, I know that'll be something that I think people will be mindful of and watching, I think, with every development in Hernando kind of moving forward, not just this one.
There are pines all the way thick through that whole acreage, right, for the most part?
Yeah, there's a pretty good mix, but there's an area in there that is kind of a pine cluster.
Okay.
Not throughout. There's some in behind the fire department, and then it kind of works its way out toward Holly Springs, McIntyre.
Right. I just wasn't, it's pretty thick when you're just going around McIntyre and Holly Springs. I just wondered what the interior was, because, of course, the building's going to go there, so that if there's any trees there, those will have to come down. But, yeah, I know y'all, that's one of the biggest things, is trying to preserve as much of the natural landscaping that's already there first. Plus, that's less of an expense to y'all to have to replace some of that, but it may not be exactly what you want either.
Anyone else? Could I have a motion?
Mayor, it seems like they've kind of met us in the middle, so I want to make a motion to grant final plat approval to Quality Cabinets 2.
Wait,
Oh,
no.
excuse me, that's the wrong one, I'm sorry, look at that. That's the next one.
You'd already moved on.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, if y'all make the motion, y'all trying to get me all the stuff now. Hold on a second, I'm just messing
We're not
with
on
you.
quality cabinets now.
I'm sorry. So I want to make a motion to recommend approval of the amendment to the project text of the Lee Summit Plan Unit Development to add self-storage mini-use to Lot 5B only.
Lot 4.
It's 4.
4, I'm sorry. 4 to the list of permitted uses within the C4 designated area of the PUD with the requirements of 1 through 9, and we want to take some parking away, is that right?
You want to amend it to 20 compartments, to 1 parking space.
Yeah, so 1 parking to 20 compartments. Pam, is that clear enough?
There is a motion on the table. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. We'll move on to the next item.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate your time.
Did y'all want to come up and get a picture too?
Yeah.
Okay, Austin, we can move on to the next one.
Yes, sir. Next project number is PL 1629. The request is for a final plat approval. 2 lots on 9.96 acres. This is the Quality Cabinet site on Highway 51, on the east side of Highway 51, just north of the Illinois Central Railroad overpass. The applicant tonight is Bob Farley, Farley Surveying, and he's representing Quality Cabinet Company, who's owner of the property. The proposal is to split the lot into 2 lots, the first lot being 2.9 acres, the second lot 6.98 acres. Both lots do have access to Highway 51. The Lot 1 frontage is 338 feet, and Lot 2 is 60.5 feet, and it's accessed through that dog leg you see on the north end of the site. So that is deeded access. That's not proposed as an easement. That's actually a piece of that lot. Both lots do have centralized water and sewer, and Lot 1 does contain the existing Quality Cabinet building, and we did verify that it does meet the setback for the C2 zoning district, which both these lots are zoned. The setbacks are front 50, there's no side setback and a rear setback of 20. So both of these lots meet or exceed all the requirements of the C2 zoning district. And something to note, the lot 2 will be bordered by R12 residential, so if and when it's developed, we would require a buffer yard as shown in the zoning ordinance to separate whatever use is proposed on that C2 lot. We did take this to the Planning Commission on July 12th, and the applicant requested to waive the sidewalk requirement as a part of our standard subdivision approvals. The Planning Commission did recommend approval, but included the requirement for the sidewalk along Highway 51. There is a proposed plat in your staff report, and we did provide an aerial and a vicinity map to give you an idea where it is. And we did provide a proposed motion that includes all that standard subdivision approvals that we talked about just a second ago. One thing to note is that the typical requirement of lane and a half would be dictated to MDOT, as this is a state highway. So the only requirement he requested to waive was the sidewalk, but the Planning Commission recommended to keep that in there. Bob Farley is available tonight, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Mr. Farley, want to come up and speak?
Good, sir. How are you?
Loving life. It's a beautiful day. Bob Farley, 235 West Chulahoma Avenue. That's with a C. Holly Springs, Mississippi. I like the way you're thinking already, sir. But I would like to request a waiver of the sidewalk requirement until there's something built on the lots. Quality Carpets Quality Cabinets is there. They've been there, they're an existing business, they're running an existing structure. And to put the sidewalk in until there's something else done with that site would require dirt work and ditch and drain and stuff all out on the edge of the highway. And it really doesn't go anywhere. The ditch on the southwest corner, and you gotta go 3 places north, I think, to where there's a sidewalk in front of the Dollar General. And so that's the only request that I have, is that you waive the sidewalk requirement until there's something new built on each lot, as opposed to having the sidewalk up before the plat's recorded.
You really just talking about delaying the construction,
Yes, sir.
not waiving the sidewalk?
Not waiving it, it's not ever to be built.
Just delay the structure.
Yes, sir, whenever there's something
Until the other lot is
done.
developed.
Right.
So we would just need to bond that.
That property.
Quality Cabinets. Charlie Pogue sold it to Quality Cabinets some time back.
You know, we want to put back there?
I do not. Right now, it's got a baseball practice field back there.
I will say, back on the issue of the sidewalk, I like the idea of bonding it, but MDOT engaged Neil Schaefer to do a study of Highway 51, and it really just starts around Green Tea, but everything they're showing in Hernando for the proposal of the future has got sidewalks on 51. So I feel like when they start studying the area south, even closer to town, they're going to be wanting sidewalks as well. So we know we'll need them at some point.
Well, not for,
And they're,
I guess, ain't up there on Parkway and 51, ain't a sidewalk there?
Yes, sir, at the gas station.
So,
Yeah.
then it's like it's already, he mentioned, at Dollar General, it's a sidewalk there already, so.
I have no problem waiting until he's built.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, just the land, not, just bonding it.
Is there anyone here to speak for or against it? I didn't mean to shove you out of the way, but I was just making sure there was no one here. Anybody, any more questions from the board or a motion from the board?
Mayor, I'd like to motion to grant final plat approval for Quality Cabinets 2-lot subdivision, 2 lots, 9.96 total acres, located on the east side of US Highway 51, north of the Illinois Central Railroad overpass and south of North Parkway in Section 12, Township 3 North, Township 3 South, Range 8 West, based upon a finding that the submitted plat generally conforms to the requirements of the city's code and ordinances, subject to the following conditions 1 through 10.
There's a motion, is there a second?
For a second, do you want to bind the?
Oh, yeah, do you want to put they're about delaying the sidewalks and putting up a bond?
Yes, I'll amend my motion to reflect that.
Second.
Just a question on that. Typically, our bonds are structured in a way that we're, 2 years is the way we kick it out until they're completed. So did you want to include a motion of when you expect completion or? Just for clarity, so when we plat record, we know what we're going to structure our development agreement on.
That's a good question.
You have a recommendation for us?
2 years is typical when we do a bond for a subdivision agreement, and, but you can structure it any way you like.
I mean, if that's what our typical process is, I think that's what we should stick
In
with.
2 years, do you have any idea?
Could you just not give them a final until?
The quality cabinets building will not be built for another 10. Because it's an existing business, and he's rocking and rolling. So I don't want to, I'll lie to you, but you heard how I was going to start that. The stuff in the back, yes, sir, I think the 2 years would be fine. The stuff in the front, I don't know when, if or when that would be changed.
I think, my thought process when we was talking about that, is that when that other lot is developed, then sidewalk will be put in both places, not when nothing happened to quality cabinet.
None of us are expecting it to disappear.
We were not expecting that. My question and thought was that when the second piece of property is developed, then the sidewalk go in every spot. I mean, that's what I was talking about. I don't know. So like you said, Carbon Gas could be there for 20 years. 20 years, we won't get no sidewalk at that point.
So could that Austin, could that 2 year, window, could it start upon like receiving a building plan on that property, or would it have to start?
It typically starts when we record the plat, because that's when our development agreement is tied to that bond. And the development agreement is what ties the bond to the requirement tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's structured in a way to say, bond the sidewalk requirement to be completed in 2 years, or until any construction's presented on lot 2, that may suffice. But I don't know if the applicant can answer that question.
Can it be extended?
That's a good compromise.
I mean, if that's a requirement, I mean, if that's the approval process, it just don't develop then, you know.
So amend it to be 2 years or until construction begins on the back lot. That would be my amendment to my motion.
All right. The motion was amended and the second was proffered. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I hope you'll have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 18, PL 1630.
Yes, sir. Next application, PL 1630 is a final approval for the Wiseman 2-lot minor lot subdivision. The request is to split the 7.5 acre parcel into 2 lots. Lot 1 will consist of 6 acres and Lot 2 will consist of 1 acre. This is located on the east side of Getwell, north of I-269, and south of Pleasant Road, just about in the middle. Applicant is Ben Smith with IPD, and I believe he has a different representative tonight who's representing Mr. Wiseman, the owner of the property. The property is currently zoned AR, and Lot 1 contains an existing roughly 1,700 square foot residence, and Lot 2 is vacant. Both lots do have access to sewer, but there's no, or excuse me, water, but there's no sanitary sewer available. It's an on-site system currently in place. The setbacks of front 50, side 15, and rear 35 are met with the existing structure, and both of these lots meet or exceed the development requirements for the AR district. The surrounding area is rural, place type, open ditch. And with that being said, this applicant at the 712 meeting requested that we waive the requirement for a road improvement and a sidewalk. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of the application with this waiver of sidewalk and lane improvement, but did ask them to dedicate the right-of-way on the plat for the future expansion of Getwell Road. And the applicant did agree to dedicate the right-of-way, just not do the lane improvement or sidewalk for these 2 lots. So with that being said, the proposed motion is in your staff report, and as stated from the Planning Commission's recommendation, they did recommend to waive the road improvement and sidewalk, and so that would be reflected as items 3 and 4 in your staff report for proposed motion. I'm available for any questions, and the applicant is available as well.
Any questions for Austin? Would the applicant like to speak?
I've got nothing, sir.
Okay. I'll make a point on this one, since we just required a sidewalk on one and why this one is so different. First of all, it's out there in the middle of nowhere, but we also know that Gitwell Road will almost certainly be 5-laned in the next 10, 12 years because the development's coming. So any new lane of traffic that we would require them to install would probably just be ripped back out and would be just a waste of money. Sidewalk would be moved. So I think there's a big difference here about not requiring the sidewalk in the lane of traffic on this subdivision. It just wouldn't be used at all, and it would just be torn out.
Austin, I'm understanding you correctly that items 3 and 4 already reflect what the Planning Commission approved?
No, so items 3 and 4 would be what you would exclude from your motion of the proposal there, in staff report. Just in case you wanted to include them, I gave you all the staff typical comments in case you didn't want to waive it. But items 3 and 4 would be the exclusions if you wanted to go along with what the Planning Commission said.
Someone like to make that motion with the exclusion of items 3 and 4?
So move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. All right, we will move on to the next item. Looks like we do need to table.
Yes, sir. Item 1636, the applicant was not able to be here and requested we move this to the next meeting.
I have a motion to table it till the next meeting.
I have a question. And it's just information, and I would like, our plan director bring me an answer back, I'm sure. Natalie would like one too. How can we ensure in these subdivisions that our stop signs and speed signs are put up? Because the last few subdivisions, we're getting more calls about them not being done. And some of these subdivisions is, several years old, some new. So what can we do from the planning standpoint to have that included in our staff report that it be done? And I know we're getting plenty of them.
I've gotten a couple.
If you could just research and give me an answer and give us a recommendation of fixing that.
Yes, sir. I'll do it.
It's a good point, because we just had to use city money to put speed limit signs in.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. It should be done at a developer's expense.
That's right, yeah.
While we're on that topic as well, since we're looking at development of a neighborhood, I think it would be wise for us to look at the pad height requirements and some of the other things that we have continually found issues with in neighborhoods that have been approved in terms of there's flooding issues, there's standing water in front yards, backyards. Like, how often are we checking in on those? And I don't know how exactly we can build that into an ordinance, but I feel like I know the city of Olive Branch has something related to that we make it research and just see what we can potentially just see what we can do to give future neighborhoods a relief.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can we have a motion to table this item till the next meeting?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is item 20, PL 1640.
Yes, sir. 1640 is the request for final plat approval of Oak Grove subdivision, Section B. A little background before I get into this one. This is the second phase of a minor lot subdivision that's come before you. The first 5 lots are along Oak Grove Road. These are the second lots that sit behind those first 5, located on the north side of West Oak Grove, west of Scott. Nick Croonan with Civil Link Engineering is here on behalf of the applicant, Skip Miller. A 7-lot preliminary subdivision was approved on February 15th, 2022, and final approval of those first 5 lots that I just mentioned were approved on March 15th. And the preliminary approval of this property in front of you tonight was in for 2 lots. And so, generally speaking, they just want to turn those 2 lots into 1 lot for a 9.3 acre parcel. Approximately 145 acres of this northern half was rezoned to PUD, which is the Weatherby West subdivision, but this is all south of that along Oak Grove Road. The proposed plat does have access to West Oak Grove via that lot, so I know there was a lot of discussion at the original staff report about that being a private road or public road or who's going to maintain it, but right now, so that's just going to be their driveway coming back towards Oak Grove Road. All the lots have access to public water, and the requirement for public sewer was waived by the board on March 15th because it wasn't publicly available, and so the applicant does request to carry that one on phase 2 as well. He does not want to connect public sewer with this being located that far outside of where it currently is. It was a bit unclear from the previous meeting of whether the sidewalk and road improvement was required, although the applicant, I think, was under the assumption it was. So he thinks the first phase, and so I'd like to clarify that tonight as well. But he does request to carry those same standards forward for this single lot as he did for the first 5. And the proposed motion in your staff report, to Alderman Piper's concerns, does include all the typicals, and so if you want to waive anything out, this is the full list, so we make sure in the motion to exclude whatever you don't want us to catch on that final plat when we go to record. And so, to sum it up, it's a 1-lot, 9-acre subdivision, which is phase 2 of that 7-lot original preliminary. And it was a bit unclear in the minutes of whether the sidewalk and road improvement was waived, but I think it was assumed. And but the city sewer was waived on phase 1, and so the applicant would like to bring all those same forward for this request tonight. Nick Croonan is available, and I'm available for any questions as well.
Nick, did you want to speak?
I don't have anything else to add unless you have questions.
Okay. Does anybody have questions? If there are no questions, is there a motion?
It's next door to me. So, motion to grant final plat approval for Oak Grove subdivision, Section B, 1-lot residential subdivision consisting of 9.3 total acres located on the north side of West Oak Grove, west of Scott Road, east of Oak Crossing Drive, Section 15, Township 3, South, Range 8 West, based upon defining that the submitted plat generally conforms to the requirements of the city's codes and ordinances, subject to the following standard conditions, 1 through 11, with excluding number 5. And Austin, help me out. What was the other?
Item 3.
Item 3.
But to include water service.
But to include water service.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for the clarification, we are struggling. Yeah, I guess we're struggling a little bit, but we're structuring the development agreement for that first phase. And so it would really help in the board minutes to clarify the first phase of this subdivision. Does it or does it not include those same covenants? Of the waiver of the road improvement, the sidewalk, because it was a bit unclear.
Do we need to do that like in a motion or just?
A motion would help just for our.
So are you recommend waiving the sidewalk and road improvements or including them?
Honestly, I think it was assumed. It just didn't get put into the motion previously.
It was assumed it would be waived or assumed?
I think it was assumed it would be waived.
Well, I moved to keep the requirements for the first phase and phase 2 the same, as we just approved for phase 2.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion passes.
Thank you all.
just for a moment, I have been remiss in recognizing that our State Senator McClendon and his wife Vicky are in attendance. So thank you for being here as our senator and as our citizen. We'll move on to item number 21, approval for Amy Claire Holder and Pam Pyle as signers for the Renaissance Bank accounts.
So move.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 22 is the approval to sign subdivision settlement participation agreement from state and local opioid litigation claims from Endo Health Solutions, Inc. and Endo Pharmaceuticals, Inc.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is item 23, the approval of the resolution for Penny for the Parks election date to be held November 8th as set forth in Senate Bill 3209.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 24 is, let's stay on 23 just for a second. That may be why Senator McClendon was here. We need to make note that he worked very hard to help us get this through the legislature so that the citizens could vote on this very important item, and we appreciate you helping give our citizens the ability to vote on that. Item 24 is to approve the Memorandum of Understanding with Mississippi Department of Finance and Administration to accept funds not to exceed $500,000 for Highway 51 and West Oak Grove intersection project as appropriated by House Bill 1353 in the 2022 regular legislative session. This is also something that Senator McClendon and Representative Darnell have worked hard on. So this is up to a total of $750,000 that's been appropriated for the Oak Grove and Highway 51 intersection there.
Motion to approve.
I have a question.
I'm sorry.
Question. Oh, I got clarification, really, and I'm going to talk to our engineer and to you, Mayor, and others. 36 months. Those funds have to be spent in 36 months.
Right.
So what kind of timetable are we on now for making the 36 months? We can't wait till, because this was affected, and this back to the senator, this was affected, the start date of when we received the money, correct?
The first $250,000, yes.
Once it was in our possession, so what date we get in our possession?
It was about the same time last year.
So we already 12 months in.
Yes.
We got 24 months to spend this money. So my question to the engineer, mayor, and everybody else that's working on the project, where do we stand at
Yes.
to make this happen in 24 months?
So the board authorized hiring Neil Schaefer to be our engineers on the project. We engaged them very quickly. They have showed me a set of plans that we have looked at, and they engineered it like they were supposed to. So they are now taking those plans to MDOT to make sure MDOT's okay with them. As soon as they get that done, which should be in the next 30 to 40 days, they will come to this board and show y'all the plans, and once they're approved, I hope y'all will authorize us to start purchasing the necessary right-of-way.
My point again, and it's to, and you know, if this happened on that timeline, Joe Frank, this put on your hat now. How long would it take from advertising to completion? We got 24 months right now.
We've got 24 months on the first $250,000. We've got 36 months on the next $500,000.
Okay, but
yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, okay, so, well, okay, 36 months, we got 36 months.
It's gonna be a 2-year project. So we should have some time.
Some wiggle room.
Once we get the plans done, and be able to right away.
And the next thing, and I guess the next thing about that is for the board, for us to think about, we got how much money? That we got?
$750,000 so far. Yeah.
And then, so the next thing we have to say, when we get them estimates back, then this board got to think about where the additional funding is gonna come from, along with the other additional funding that we're talking about, correct? So we can't wait till 24, 30 months from now to be thinking about that.
So I think Senator McClendon is going to be working on some more money in the next session.
Due diligence.
Yeah, okay, due diligence, I appreciate your due diligence. But just in case,
Yep.
due diligence fail. Not because of lack of effort, we just, you know, we just been,
Thank you for bringing.
yeah, I'm just saying, but not because of lack of effort, because it was announced then that all this money that's being spent on bridges down in Tate County, that we didn't get nothing done. Wasn't because of due diligence, it just didn't happen.
So the initial estimates on the total price is about $1.6 million. So we'd have another 850,000 to come up with.
With inflation, you're talking about $1 million then.
There also talk one time about a roundabout instead of a red light, are we?
That is what they designed, is a roundabout at MDOT's request, which is a lot cheaper than the traffic signal would have been.
And does the work, just, because I don't know this, does the work have to be completed and paid for within that 36 months, or does it just have to be voted upon and appropriated?
We have to spend this money.
Look at, it got EX.
Yep.
EX, I underline that too, 'cause I went to that Hernando Central High School.
That's why we are pushing as hard as we can to move it forward.
It's
And I've also,
EXPEND.
and I've also already reached out to Entergy.
Where you at?
To move
Where
the
you at?
power.
The second whereas from the bottom.
Expend the funds within 36 months from the date of receipt.
Yep.
Oh, well, we could prepay, huh? Could we?
We're not allowed to prepay.
We spent some on the design, I believe.
A little bit, yeah, yeah. We've authorized to spend up to $121,000 with them on the design. Then we'll purchase right away, we'll move utilities, and that'll take up a big chunk of the $250,000 on the front.
I just wanted to make sure that we be thinking about that.
Yeah,
because
we are.
it is, the timeline is shorter than we think.
It is.
It is pretty
And the state loves to grab that money back from people that don't spend it quick
That's all,
enough.
information.
Yeah, we don't need that to happen.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
did we vote on that one yet?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 25 is the approval to open a separate bank account for House Bill 1353 and have me, Pam Pyle, Amy Claire Holder, and Julie Gates as signers on the account.
I did have one question. So why would we put this money in a different account than the 250,000?
They required it.
Required it?
Yep, I asked the same question already. I hate having a bunch of different accounts.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. The next item is the approval to adopt new underground boring excavating ordinance for the city of Hernando. We've come up with something that's been reviewed by the city attorney. I do want to make a note that this idea and this information actually came from the Municipal League Conference. We were in a class where they were talking about various things, and we asked a question, and 811 people sent us some sample ordinances. And all of this goes back to the point of, we know we have C-Spire and AT&T at the moment boring all the time, putting in fiber. It just is what it is. It also is what it is that we don't know where a lot of our lines are. That's a reality. They're old. They've been here for 50, 60 years. We bought North Mississippi Utilities. We don't really know where all their lines are. So it's a reality. Even if we mark them, we're just doing a best guess on some of them. Some we do know, but they're hitting our lines a lot. So we wanted to get something in place to help protect the citizens and our staff who are working their tails off. 2 or 3 times a week sometimes they're hitting our lines. So this ordinance is going to try to help solve some of that. So
That's right.
with that being said, Lee, I'm going to let you explain the ordinance and what it would do and how it would work.
So this, like the mayor was talking about, this will let us know where they're working, so we can be extra careful. If we know there are any large lines or vulnerable lines in the area, shallow lines, we can outline those for the people that are working. It also, I could go through this for an hour. So basically it just regulates and lets us know where they're working at. We're just going to require a permit for any excavation, any boring. There's going to be fees attached, which go off of distance. The permits are not transferable. They're going to require an 811 locate ticket before they do any work, which it does now, but we found that they'll do it under another company's locate ticket, which makes it not valid.
or they won't call one in at all. And this would just help outline. All the big players in the game, mainly C-Spire, I'm going to brag on them, they take care of it. They do the right kind of work. They let us know before they're coming into town. They give us a set of blueprints that are stamped by an engineer, and they do the right thing. A lot of the other contractors don't. So this would protect us and help us regulate that kind of stuff, damages and whatnot. And I can answer any questions. I've got some stuff highlighted on here. Hopefully you guys have had time to read it. It outlines the work hours. It also requires bonding. Bonding is big for us, especially for 2 years, like you guys were talking about with Austin earlier. These bonds would last 2 years also. So whenever a contractor hits a sewer line, a storm drain, a lot of the times we don't know it. There's not anything spraying anywhere. There's no pressure on it. So we don't know it until the road falls in, our yard starts, sinking. Then we have to expend our money to camera it, find out what it is, try to get a contractor who's gone out of town to come back in, make the repairs. It's just a pain. So hopefully this will eliminate that. It's got work times in there, like I mentioned before. At least 5 days before the work is performed. Any resident or business located within 200 feet of the work site will have to be notified by the contractor. I think that's huge too. We learned that a lot on Robinson Road. AT&T just blew in there, started all their work, didn't tell anybody. They were calling the police, calling us. Everybody was unsure what was going on. So this should eliminate that problem too. A big thing at the end that was added to that, I actually got that from Batesville, was they're going to be required to camera any sanitary and non-sanitary sewer, which means storm drain and sewer, before and after they do their work. That way they can prove that they weren't liable for anything. They can say, all right, well, there's already a line through here, it's broken, it's penetrated, we're going to have to, you're going to have to get that fixed through your own means. And then when they camera it after, they can see the damage they caused, if they did cause any, and we can make them liable for that.
Would your staff be looking at the final camera?
Yes, so in the bottom there, it's outlined that they'll send us a digital copy to Public Works, whether it be me or Curtis or even Denise, in the front office. Can review that stuff. It's going to be simple. I don't think it's going to be overwhelming. I think it'll be short and sweet. They're just going to camera that spot, maybe a minute or two of video, depending on how long they went, and, we'll clear them out. But that bond still stays active for 2 years, just in case they disturb any of the roads or, road bases or soil cement and stuff like that. I know it's long. The first 3 pages are pretty much definitions. And then after that, get into the meat of the ordinance.
Anybody have any questions or concerns about this?
This is certainly something that's needed, in my opinion. My ward was affected by a water main that was hit, and the contractor that was there, shut off a valve, trying to help the situation or whatever else, but didn't tell anybody that that's what they were doing necessarily. And so there were several neighborhoods on my side of the city that just had lower water pressure for almost a month, and it took time to figure that out,
right?
Because there was just no, communication and due diligence again, to make sure that that's that everything's done correctly. And it's almost become, in all honesty, it's almost become a running joke within some of the neighborhoods in my part of town to be like, how much is our water pressure going to be affected today? And in a city of our size, we have to be able to try to give some kind of assurances to people, that water pressure, sewer, some of these basic necessities are going to be relied upon. And with the number of people that work from home as well, their Wi-Fi is it's their livelihood. So certainly we need to, extend whatever kind of protections we can, oversight we can.
And to kind of go off what you just said, a lot of the times we found here lately that the most recent contractors are working in here, they won't even tell us they hit anything. If it's not a major leak that's blowing, over a house, they won't say a word. They just leave, gone for the day. Or when you pull up, they leave,
Ward 5.
So, yeah, they're done for the day.
For sure.
I've had numerous talks with their supervisors and stuff like that, and most of the time they right the wrong. But it's, you know, there about a month ago, they probably had 40 guys working over on the west side of town. They also had Robinson going. They had some on Oak Grove going. You know, it just, they bring so many people in at one time, you can't keep track of it. You can't control it. And this would hopefully at least slow it down, because it is becoming an issue, and you know, we don't have anything like this in place, and it definitely, if not this, it needs to be something put in place soon.
Well, I think it was yesterday when I noticed that something was going on Ice Plant, and nobody had told you.
Nobody
and the
knew
gas
about it.
company was digging up the street tying in a gas line.
So I pulled
And
up
we
after
didn't know.
lunch. They, you know, what are you guys doing? When are you going to patch the road? You know, and stuff like that. And it's got to be, you got to stay on top of that stuff, because as you know, you fill it with gravel first, 610, it compacts, but you know, in a high traffic area, that stuff blows out, and the contractors need to be held accountable and come back and maintain that road until it's fixed properly and permanently.
I think this is a great start, for sure.
Yeah.
We can always, you know, add on to it later.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a learning curve for everybody. I know
Yeah.
it is for me.
It's needed, believe me.
And I do want to impress on you that this ordinance is a little out of our realm. You know, we understand lots of it, but this ordinance was sent to us by the 811 people as an example, and they think it's a good ordinance.
Yeah. They sent me 3 or 4, and this one was the most detailed and covered everything that we could possibly think of at the time. And like I said, I did add the cammering part that came from Batesville's ordinance. I think that's just a no-brainer for us, because, like I said, you don't know sometimes for 2, 3, 6 months, a year down the road, that there's a cable through your sewer line or a storm drain.
There are no more questions. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 27 is going to be Lee's as well. It's to adopt new development standards checklist for new developments. It has been reviewed by the city attorney, and Lee, I'll let you run over that.
Sure. Me and the mayor and Joe Frank have all went over this along with the city attorney, but the way Joe Frank outlined it to me is, and the mayor, is these are basic health department requirements. So it's nothing out of the ordinary that these developers are doing in other cities. We just have nothing like this in place to hold their feet to the fire and make sure that they're doing everything properly, and turning out a good product that's going to last 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that we won't have these maintenance issues like we do at some of the developments now that are not old at all. You know, it ends up costing the city a lot of money. That's a lot of time, you know, and pulls us off of stuff that we could, you know, focus our time on current issues and current problems and so on and so forth. This is pretty self-explanatory. It runs down a list of requirements for water, sewer, grease traps, force main sewers, also lift stations. That's a huge thing in here. We don't, you know, most of the, like I said, most of the developers now do the right thing, or do, you know, provide a good quality product with Gorman Rupp lift stations, and but some don't, and this would eliminate all of those issues. This would not be an ordinance. This would be something that we would give to the city engineer and the planning department to hand to new developments and developers when they come to town, or even existing ones, and say, look, this is the standard that we expect. You know, when Joe Frank gets the first set of plans with all the infrastructure laid out on it, he will go down this checklist, make sure everything was in up to snuff on that. If it's not, he can say, hey, look, try again. You know, we need to fix this, we need to fix this, we need to put side notes on this. And then everybody will be in the know. Everybody will be on the same page. We'll have a standard for new developments, big or small.
Are these standards already in place? This is just like a checklist that's being added to it, and it's just a process that's being, like, what
Yes and no. Joe Frank, you kind of speak on that a little bit. I don't want to put you on the spot.
I'd say most of them follow the same standards. It's like minimum standards from the health department, DEQ. So, I don't know that we have anything that's, different from there. So I just want to make sure that we can give someone a list that's coming in to develop, that be sure you're following these standards.
Right.
Draw the plans.
Some of the developers, just as one example, put in a fire hydrant, but not put a shut-off valve in front of it.
Right.
And that's a big deal. We need to be able to shut off the fire hydrant separate from the water system for maintenance and things
If
like
it
that.
starts leaking, somebody runs over it, hits it, we need to be able to shut it off. We have something like this in place, it's just not in writing. So this will put it in writing, this will make it.
It's in about 50 places.
That's right.
This puts it in one place.
That's right, puts it in one place, it outlines everything. Once, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, this came from South Haven. It's what Civil Link uses for their checklist on all of their new developments. This is what their Public Works Director put together, and they require on everything. Sorry, Ms. Natalie, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, I was just wondering, is there someone here that says, and maybe this last thing, any other requirements, like, just so they'll know that, yes, this is a list, but there may be something on here that, this isn't.
It's not all inclusive.
Right, not all inclusive.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. We can add something to that easily.
And also, if y'all will update the seal.
Sure, yeah, that's just the one we had in our department there, but
Gia
absolutely.
can give you the one you need.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't want people to think like, okay, well, I've done all this and I'm done, but something else may pop up.
sure.
Anything else from the board? Anyone from the public want to speak on this? Not, can I have a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt the new development standard checklist for new developments.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And the final one is to adopt a City of Hernando record drawings requirement for new developments. And it's also been reviewed by the attorney.
This one's a little simpler. This basically just requires 3 copies of plans for review. The big thing for Public Works is having everything, all the assets, all the meters, valves, water mains, sewer mains, manholes, lift stations, everything you can imagine utility-wise will be GPSed within survey accuracy, and that will be given to our GIS coordinator, Mr. Trapolino. And it makes it a lot easier. It would take him, if we went out and collected all these points in a new subdivision, it would take us, potentially a week, depending on how big the subdivision was. And after that, Scott would have to build a map, and he would have to individually draw these lines on a map, draw these points on a map. This, he can drag it over seamlessly. It'll just kind of auto-fill into our mapping software. So once the new subdivision is done, so we can, if we ever need to dig it up, if we ever need to find it, if it gets buried during construction, we can find it.
We'll be helping the Public Works Department 30 years down the road.
Right, exactly.
As well as today.
They'll walk in and with a digital map with everything in the city on it. So this is, like I said, this is a little more simple, but it's definitely important. And this is also not an ordinance, it's just mainly a policy that we would give to planning and to Joe Frank, and they would distribute those to the new developers.
To approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Lee, thank you for taking the lead on this. We've been needing this for a long time. And Joe Frank, thank you for your input and assistance as well. And to our city attorney for reviewing all these things as we send them to him. 29 is approval to dispose of old non-working water meters. Quantities and brands are listed on your agenda.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is item 30, the approval to transfer the Kubota tractor model M105S, asset tag 424, serial number 50910, and the side boom mower with the model number listed to the Parks Department and no charge between the departments.
To approve. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion passes. Item 31 is to approve the release of the bond on the field house development. Joe Frank, would you like to speak to the release of the bond on item 31?
Yes. Officer's been looking over the bonds, and he asked me about that bond and on the next one. And I went out and checked it, and I believe they have completed the work that they were supposed to do. I guess that's officially called the Joyce Estes.
Okay.
You can see the widening of the road they've done, of course, the water line, the sewer line, and the sidewalks.
Make a motion to release the bond for field house development.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. And item 32 is to approve the release of bond for Nesbitt Industrial Park Phase 11.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And next is the utility adjustment docket.
Motion to approve utility adjustment docket.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes.
To adjourn.
Second. Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank y'all.